Now discussing about the anatomy of ear. Okay, ear is primarily divided into three parts: external ear, middle ear, and internal ear. External ear, middle ear, and inner ear. Inner ear is also known as labyrinth, which is situated in the petrous part of the temporal bone. First, we will be discussing about the external ear. External ear is primarily divided into three parts: pinna, external auditory canal, and tympanic membrane. Okay. Pinna or the auricle. It is a pinna or the auricle. It has some laterals. It has lateral surface and medial surface. Okay. The lateral surface has characteristic prominences and depressions. And these prominences and depressions are characteristic in each individuals. They are unique. They are very much unique and comparable to the fingerprints. They are even different in identical twins. Okay. Now let us see what are the different types of prominences and depressions present in the lateral surface of the ear. Okay. First, we start with the cross of the helix. This is the cross of the helix. Then this is whole helix, and as we move down, this is the lobule. Okay. And again we start from downwards. Now we start from downwards, and this is antihelix. Okay. So this is helix, this is antihelix, and the space present above the antihelix is called triangular fossa or scaphoid fossa, and the space present between the antihelix and the cross of the helix, this is called cymba concha. And here we have cross of helix, and below it there is tragus. But in between the cross of the helix and the tragus, there is a space. This is known as incisura terminalis. You can see the cartilaginous framework, that is, this is the cross of the helix and this is the tragus. And the space between the cross of the helix and the tragus, this is called incisura terminalis. So, the various structures are cross of the helix, lobule, antihelix, and the space above the antihelix is scaphoid fossa, below the antihelix and between the antihelix and the cross of the helix is cymba concha, and there is a region between the cross of the helix and the tragus which is called incisura terminalis, which is deficient in the cartilage. Okay. Now all of these are supplied by the single alloelastic cartilage except the lobule. Okay, lobule is not a cartilaginous framework. Okay, it is made up of fat. And the cartilage and the skin over this cartilage is tightly adherent at the lateral surface. It is tightly adherent. At this surface it is tightly adherent. Whereas at this is the lateral surface. Whereas in the medial surface, the cartilage is the skin is loosely adherent. The skin over the cartilage of the lateral part is tightly adherent, whereas that in the medial surface is loosely adherent. And this cartilage is avascular. Okay, and they receive the blood supply from the perichondrium. This cartilage is avascular, and they receive the blood supply from the perichondrium. That means if the perichondrium is stripped by any means, if the perichondrium is stripped by any means, for example, during the injuries, then the cartilages cannot receive the nutrients and blood, cannot receive the nutrients and oxygen supply, so they undergo necrosis. For example, in case of Boxer's here, where the blood is accumulated in the perichondrial layer, and thus the nutrients cannot be diffused into the cartilage and they undergo necrosis, and this is known as Boxer's here. Okay. The Simba concha, we have already discussed the Simba concha. This is the Simba concha which lies between the antihelix and the cross of the helix. The importance of Simba concha is that it is an important landmark for the mastoid antrum. Okay, there are two important landmarks for the mastoid antrum. Mastoid antrum. There, first is Simba concha and McEwen's triangle. Okay, Simba concha and McEwen's triangle. We will be discussing about the McEwen's triangle when we will be discussing about mastoid antrum. But we have to remember that the Simba concha is also an important landmark of the mastoid antrum. Incisura terminalis, which is deficient in the cartilage, present between the cross of the helix and the tragus. Okay, the importance of the incisura terminalis is that it is deficient in cartilage. So if we have to do any surgery and if we cut through the incisura terminalis, it will not cut any cartilaginous framework. Okay, incision made in this area does not cut through the cartilage. Okay, does not cut through cartilage. So we can do the end oral approach in surgery. Okay, these approaches will be discussed later in the surgical parts, but we have to remember the fact that the if we cut through the incisura terminalis, it will not cut the cartilaginous framework, and this is the importance of incisura terminalis. Pinna has 3 extrinsic muscles and 3 extrinsic muscles and 6 intrinsic muscles. The extrinsic muscles of the pinna are auricularis anterior, auricularis superior, and auricularis posterior. These 3 external muscles are supplied by the facial nerve. Okay, these 6 intrinsic muscles are small, they are inconsistent, and without any useful information. So we have already discovered blood supply because it is avascular structure. It receives the blood supply from the perichondrium. First is blood supply. It is avascular and it receives the blood supply from the perichondrium. Okay, and second is the nerve supply. Okay, how it is supplied by the nerves. Okay, the nerve supply of the pinna is mainly by greater auricular nerve. The main nerve supply is by greater auricular nerve. So let us see the nerve supply in the lateral surface and the medial surface. The lateral surface is supplied by greater auricular nerve, which is C2 and C3, auriculotemporal nerve, which is a branch of trigeminal nerve, mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve, and the 7th nerve and the 10th nerve, that is a vagus nerve and the facial nerve. The auricular branch of the vagus nerve is known as Arnold's nerve. Okay, so the nerve supply in the lateral surface are this is supplied by auriculotemporal nerve, this part is supplied by greater auricular knob, and this part is supplied by two knobs, that is auricular branch of vagus. Auricular branch of vagus is also known as Arnold's knob. Auricular branch of vagus is known as Arnold's knob. We should remember this fact. And it is also supplied by facial knob. Okay. Whereas the medial surface is supplied by three knobs: lesser occipital knob, greater auricular knob, and the same knob supplying these regions. Okay. This is the lateral part, and this is the medial part. These both are supplied by the auricular branch of the vagus, that is Arnold's knob, and the facial knob. Okay. And this whole part is supplied by greater auricular knob, and the posterior part of this is this, and this is also supplied by greater auricular knob. Whereas in the upper tip, the medial surface is supplied by the lesser occipital knob, not greater occipital knob. It is supplied by lesser occipital knob. So lateral surface by auriculotemporal knob, greater auricular knob, auricular branch of vagus knob, and facial knob. Whereas the medial surface by lesser occipital knob, greater auricular knob, lesser occipital knob, greater auricular knob, and branch of the vagus, and the facial knob. Okay. And we should also remember the fact that auriculotemporal knob is a branch of mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve, and it is not greater occipital knob, it is lesser occipital knob which supplies the pinna. It is the lesser occipital knob which supplies the pinna, and the auricular branch of the vagus knob which supplies the auricular branch of the vagus is also known as Arnold's knob. But what is the main knob supply of the pinna? It is the greater auricular knob. Main is the greater auricular knob because it supplies most of the pinna. So it is the main knob supply of the pinna. Lymphatic drainage of pinna. The posterior surface drain into the mastoid tip. The tragus and upper part of anterior surface drain into the preauricular lymph nodes, and the rest of the auricle drains into the upper deep cervical lymph node. So it is very easy. Okay. The posterior part, what is nearer to the posterior part? Mastoid. So it drains into the mastoid tip. Anterior part, what is nearer to the anterior part? That is the preauricular lymph node, and rest of the pinna into the deep cervical lymph node. Okay. What is the importance of the pinna? Mainly, the cartilage in the pinna can be used for various type of surgeries like rhinoplasty, tympanoplasty. Okay, so in rhinoplasty, the conical cartilage is used to correct the depressed nasal bridge. For tympanoplasty, we use conical cartilage and cartilage from the tragus for the correction of tympanic membrane. During the tympanoplasty. Thank you.